Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as MercyTiara, and I make scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel. Today I am using the Sweet Summer Kit from MercyTiara Kits and the Mixed Media add-on to make a layout with primary colors. I am scrapbooking about the Blue Nose, which is a schooner, which actually features on the Canadian dime, and it is local to us here in Halifax. Well, actually, it's local to Nova Scotia. It was built in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, and it has been in our harbor for the past, well, off and on throughout the summer. So we were lucky enough to be able to see it recently, and I'm going to scrapbook about the pictures we took. I just showed you a quick shot of my scrap room and how I have it set up. I keep all of my kit supplies in what I call my kit caddy, which is a little wheelie cart that holds a bunch of things, basically all of my kit supplies, and I can reach for it pretty easily. I have these two photos. Right now, they're both printed at 3x5, but I'm actually reprinting one of them up at 4x6 so that I can have a larger copy of the one with all of us in it, as well as the boat. So I'm starting by going through, and I'm actually going to start with this assortment of papers that include blue, pink, red, and, well, it's kind of like that bluey, greeny, turquoisey color. And I really love this color scheme. And I also want to pick out some yellow because of the yellow that is in the blue note, the writing on the edge of the blue nose. And so blue, red, and yellow make up our primary colors. Now, this blue is not a true blue. It is more of a turquoise or maybe a tealy blue, but I am going to call this a primary colors layout because turquoise, red, and yellow are probably my very favorite color scheme of all of the different color schemes. So I cannot resist using this color scheme. Although earlier on in the process, my thought process it goes down the line of this being a monochromatic blue layout. So we'll see how that goes. I'm pulling out the mixed media kit here, which is from the Sweet Summer kit. And it comes with 10 pieces of tissue paper, assorted pieces. Mine is a little heavy on the black. Most of the mixed media kits have more white tissue paper, but I have these words pulled out, the word tissue paper that I'm going to play with as well. I just really like the idea of using tissue paper as a layer, and I love how transparent it is, and I just want to play around with the mixed media kit and see what I can do with it. So that's why I have that pulled out. There's also the Sweet Summer title, which is not going to work for my current page, but I don't want to forget about it, so I just took it out, thought about it, and I'll make a mental note to make another page that will be able to use that title. And I'm having a look at these titles that come in the Simple Stories foam stickers that were in the embellishment add-on. I'm just thinking about what I might want to do for my title. I'm not sure right now. So I have both the red foam letter stickers, those titles, as well as the black puffy stickers set aside, and I'll think about my title later. I'm also pulling out the media that came with the mixed media kit. So there's the stencil, and there's also some Creamies paint, watercolor paint from Shimmers, and also some Shimmers mist as well. Pardon me, the Shimmers mist is actually called Colorings. So I also have these Tim Holtz quote chips, and I picked out one of them that worked with the theme of my page. And I did trim down my photos. I just cut that part out because there was kind of a lot. This video, for some reason, is very long. There was a lot of going back and doing things over and over again, so that might be why. I'm not sure if this video will stay really long or if I might edit it out as I go. My first thought was that this paper, the turquoise paper right here, my first thought was that that would make a good background for a sailing water, I guess, themed layout, but it's not actually the color of the water in our harbor. We don't have that tropical light blue color to our water at all. It's more of a dark blue. And so I'm not sure that this paper is really going to work. Also, the grid on it is a little bit constricting. I think that when I use a grid as a background, I like my photos to be all lined up and stuff. But in this case, I think I want to use more of a mixed media light maybe have the photos be a little bit askew. So although I have this paper pulled out as a background, it's really not going to work for my background. So what I went to do instead is I went into my stash and I pulled out a piece of this Vicky Bouton mixed media foundation paper. This is super thick cardstock. It's 140 pounds and it is super, super thick. And the nice thing about using it is that it means I don't have to put a layer of gesso on my cardstock before using mixed media. So I'm going to change my mind here and use this as my background paper instead of that one with the grid, the lighter colored blue one. This one is a little bit more greeny, but I really like how it looks. And what I would like to do is have a wave border. I thought about hand cutting a wave, and then I thought I have these dies that they're technically they're from Lawn Fawn, so I guess you might consider them to be card making supplies, but I really love using card making supplies in my scrapbooks. There's no reason they don't have to be separate supplies or anything. And so I'm just talking about them there. I was live streaming with my tiaras over on Patreon. So that's why sometimes I'm kind of moving my hands around. But I'm trying to think about which of these wavy borders I want to use. So I'm going to decide to use the bigger one. And then I'm going to slide these two back in. And you're going to see that album come out many, many times. That album is just a half-size binder. It's just an office supply. And I have page protectors in it. And then what I've done is I've slid in my magnets that hold my dies into each of those page protectors, and I keep all of my dies in that binder system. Although it is changing in the next couple of days, I have a whole other system picked out, not because that system didn't work, but because I like the aesthetics of the new system better, I think. We'll see. So I'm going to start by lining this die up on the edge of the cardstock. This is going to be a half and half, and apologies for the camera angle here. My camera is way too high, but there's something going on in my scrap room where I'm moving things around, and for now, I know you can see my other camera there. That's not always going to be like that, but for all of today's footage, anything that's my face cam is going to be like this, so apologies for that. I'm going to go back and forth here it does take 2 runs for this die to go the whole 12 inches of the width of this pattern paper. This washi tape, I was a little bit regretting it. It did not tear my paper, but it was very firmly attached and it could have torn my paper. So now here I'm going to put this die back because I'm so optimistic and I think I'm done, but no, I'm not. I'm going to come back to this again and again and again. So there we go. I love how wavy that looks, and I love the imperfections and how using the die twice just really does make it look super interesting and not too symmetrical. So I like that. This is how this is going to go. And then my thought is that there will be mixed media on the white background, kind of like coming out from around the photo. That's my favorite way to do mixed media on a background paper, is to do this half and half thing and have some mixed media coming out from behind the photo. It's just a bit of a no-brainer. It's an easy way to use mixed media on your page without having to be too creative and thinking how to do it. So I am going to add some outlining. I almost added it in black, and then I decided I think I'd rather have this outlining be in white. So I grabbed my Jelly Roll 10 pen, which is a broader point than the regular. Usually when you get Jelly Roll pens that don't tell you what width it is, they're usually 8 point. These are 10 point. This one is 10 point. And I got this on Amazon. Amazon, at the time when I bought it, was selling them in 3 packs. So I do have 2 more put aside for when this one runs out. Jelly Roll pens last a long, long time. And if it seems to dry out, you can often get it running again just by using heat. Usually I just warm it with my fingers and it gets running again pretty easily. So don't throw away a Jelly Roll if it seems to be not working. Just warm it up. Our friend Rita sits on hers, and I think that that's a funny way to get it running as well. Whatever works, right? So we have this background, and at this point, I'm feeling like this looks great, and I want to use it like this. I'm putting my ATG on it without thinking, oops, let's put this down here, but no, let's immediately take it off because I forgot. I'm doing mixed media, of course. Grabbed my pencil and I'll just make a little mark where that wave paper ends so that I'm just gonna do a line all the way across so that I know exactly where I need my mixed media to go. So it'll have to be above that line. And I have this piece of paper here to serve as because I can't put the other one there because it has adhesive on it and it'll stick again. So I keep using that extra piece just to kind of hold the space so that I know what it's going to look like. Double checking that I did the right measurements and that it's all going to look okay. I'm going to put a little secondary cluster up here. I don't know what exactly is going to go in that secondary cluster, but I really loved the offcuts of that wave die. It made this really cute, imperfect and asymmetrical scallop shape, and I really like that. In fact, the next time I want a scallop border, I think I'm going to try to remember to use that wave die. I was playing around with a bunch of different ideas there. I pulled in some different paper for potentially matting my photos, and I ended up deciding not to mat my photos. Now here's where I take out the creamies. The color here is Ride the Tide. This is a product that comes in our mixed media add-on this month, and you just spray a little bit of water and that activates it. I also have a cup of water here and a round watercolor brush. And I'm just mixing up the paint to get it flowing and get it nice and colorful. Get some paint on my brush. That's how it looks. When you activate it, it gets really liquidy. And I might have added a little bit too much water. The last time I used this, I kept adding water, and it kept drying up and drying up. And so I was a little heavy-handed with the water here. And this is very liquidy paint. It's a lot more liquidy than what I really wanted it to be, but it's just a testament to how great this Vicki Boutin paper is. We would love to carry this in the shop, but it's always sold out at any of the distributors that we use. It's always sold out. So whenever it's available again, you can expect to see this pop up in the MTK shop. Just adding some splots. And those driplets, they dry really vivid because there's so much concentration on them. I'm using a plastic bag here to use the packaging technique because I actually threw away all of my packaging this month because I'm reorganizing my scrap room. It's a major undertaking and I didn't want to hang on to anything that I didn't need. So every month I get new packaging. So I just thought I'll just toss this and hopefully I won't need to use the packaging technique. So of course I use the packaging technique the next time I scrapbook, right? I'm using that brush to just deposit some of that Creamies watercolor paint onto the Tim Holtz chipboard quote tile because I don't want it plain. I want it to have a little bit of this blue. My thought is that this blue will be in 3 places. It'll be here on the background, it'll be on the Tim Holtz chipboard quote, and then it'll also be in the sky on my photos. It's the exact same color of sky blue. So now I have that secondary cluster also has some paint and I'm just adding a little bit more paint. And you saw me, I painted it and then I went back and used the packaging technique just to make it look a little bit more random and not so contrived. I didn't want a solid edge where I stopped painting. I just wanted it to look modeled and messy. I actually ended up putting more paint on there than I wanted to. Like the paint goes all the way up to the top of the page, but it turns out it's going to look great when it's all done. I did not realize how great it would look with so much paint on it. I thought I was making a mistake, but it's not a mistake. So I want the waves to be there. And as you can see, my paper is now trimmed a little bit shorter than it should be. But that's okay because I'm thinking I can either piece together a little bit down here, or maybe I could just put a strip down there of some other kind of paper. So, but hang on because I'm going to think of an even better idea, but just hang tight because it's going to take a minute before I have that idea. I'm going to glue these 2 down first. I thought about, well, I don't really need to erase those pencil marks, but you can't anymore because I put paint over top of them. Just showing that bag. It's just a little bag. I've got this weird size bag. I don't know where it came from, but I've got 2 big packages of them. So I think that means I have either 200 or 1,000 of those bags that I really don't need. I don't know where they came from or why I have them, But anyhow, I'm going to be doing a lot of the packaging technique to use them all up. So that chipboard quote is going to lie right where I had it there, and that little scallop piece will work right there. And now I'm thinking maybe I'll run a strip of this. And then I thought, wait a second, maybe I want another wave to go down here and to cover up like the bottom of the photo so that the bottom of the photo looks like it's coming out from the waves. And I should not have trimmed that so short because this is why I'm going to go back and forth and back and forth. So here's these dies making their second appearance. And this time I'm actually choosing the middle. So there are 3 different waves here. One has big waves, one has middle-sized waves, and one has little waves. So I'm using the middle-sized one this time. And of course, I have to run this through twice to get it to do the full 12-inch width of this paper. So we do it there, and I dropped something on the floor, so let's pick that up, and then I switched to the mint tape because my washi tape the first time around was way too sticky, and I was afraid that I was going to tear the paper. So I've switched to the mint tape, which is basically like the tackiness of Post-it note, so it's not very tacky. We'll put those away because I think I'm not going to use them again, but never fear, they will be coming back. I'm going to use my white Jelly Roll 10 pen again, and I'm going to outline this. And then once that's finished, my thought is that this could layer over top of this photo like this. I love how that looks. But then I was thinking, oh, wait a second, 3 would be even better than 2, of course. So let's get that die back out again. This time I'm taking the 3rd one. So this is the smallest waves. These will be at the very front. And whoops, okay, I'm making a mistake here. I'm cutting this wave upside down. It's going to look more like clouds than it is waves. So I'm going to do the whole die cut before I realize. And then, oops, at this point, I'm like, wait a second, that's wrong. All right, so let's do it this way. Put this right here, and I'm still thinking that it's going to work, but it's way too thin now. Like that piece is not long enough. That has not occurred to me yet, so let's finish this off. I have to cut it twice to do the full 12-inch width, and this is what I've got, and I'm thinking it's okay, I can trim it off. It's only going to be at the very bottom. But of course, it's just not enough. There's a little message from our friend Rita, who I was live streaming while I did this with the folks over on Patreon. So my first thought is that I might be able to layer these in some way that you're not going to see the bottom of. So maybe I'll do it like that. But I really would rather have the middle wave be more balanced with the others. I'm not liking the constraints that I'm ending up having when I deal with the size pieces that I have. So I'm going to do it again. So let's cut these a 4th time. A 4th set of waves will do because the 3rd set is not going to work at all on this page. So I cut that and I put away the die, and now I need to just outline it with my white Jelly Roll 10 pen. And so there we go. Now that is done. And finally, let's have a look at how this is all going to look. Much better. Now, it's not going to be that long, but this is much, much better. So let's put this is actually going to go behind that photo, just like that. And now this piece is going to be mounted on top of the bottom part of the photo. Let's pull this up a little bit just so it looks really nice and wavy, like rocky waves, like a busy ocean. So I'm going to tuck some little pieces of foam tape in between the waves and the bottom layer of paper just to hold that space so that if it goes in a page protector and is squished up, it's going to hold the space. There we go. So I just needed one every here and there. And now I'm going to run a layer of Scotch foam tape. It's just easier to use this stuff when I'm using a lot of it because it's more cost effective mostly. And also it's just one strip of paper, one strip of backing that you have to pull off when you do it that way. I'm going to position this just so it covers up that white edge on the bottom of that photo, but not too much higher than that. There we go. And then we'll pull up the little edges on that piece as well. There's already foam tape behind it, so we'll just pull that up. And then let's trim off the excess here so that this whole page is now 12 by 12 again. So it'll fit in a page protector. So this is the base of this page, and I adore this page so far. It's been so much fun to make. This is dry now, and I think it looks really great. It looks very distressed and maybe like washed with the ocean is maybe how it looks. Let's not forget to put that little bit of scallop up there in the sky. It's going to hold my secondary cluster, which I don't know what that's going to have, but I think that this little bit of beautiful font from Dina Wakley, this tissue paper is going to look great tucked in on the side of the photo. But before I do so, I don't want to tuck it in plain. I'd like to change the color of this tissue paper, so I'm just going to paint it blue. And as I'm painting it blue, I'm realizing maybe I should paint the back of it. I do want it to be blue, but I also want the handwriting to be nice, vivid black. So I'm making a bit of a mess on my desk here, but I painted it mostly on the black, mostly on the back, I should say. And now I'm just drying it with my heat gun. And boy, does it ever dry crispy and chunky. I held it up to my microphone so that my tiaras could hear because it's very crunchy. I think it's very cool. And now it didn't tear properly, so I just cut it, and now I'm just trying to make the edges look not too perfect. And I think that that's just perfect. It adds a little bit more of the blue that's up on the background paper and brings it down into the layers where that more teal blue is. I mean, the blue of the water waves actually looks more green once you put it next to the blue, but it is like a tealy, bluey, greeny color. We're going with blue. We're saying that it's blue. I am putting foam adhesive on part of this tile because of the way that it lies. It seems to be lying flat with the photo, but then it's kind of hanging off in the air behind the teal paper. So I just added some pieces of foam there. And let's think about this. We have this dime, and I don't know where I want to put the dime, but let's do something with it. I thought about making the dime into an emblem-like shape. So I took out my punches and thought maybe I have a punch that's small enough, but I didn't. So let's go to my dies here and find a die that is just a little bit bigger than the dime itself. So I have that. Those are waffle flower dies. And then these are pink and Maine. And I also have some Lawn Fawn ones. I had to get a second set of the pinked circles because the Lawn Fawn set just didn't have enough size options. And I never had the right size pinked circle. And now that I have the pink and Maine, I always have the size I'm looking for. So I'm going to layer this with two different colors of paper here. The one is this green, like mint green background paper that I almost used as a background. And then this is a blue cardstock that came in the cardstock add-on. So I will cut the plain circle out of the blue, and then I will cut the pink circle out of the greenish color. And I just want to make sure that that pink circle is cut right in the center of the square so that I don't get any of the white lines that are around those squares. And I managed to do that. So this is making my little dime emblem that I wanted to use as an embellishment. So next we will put these dies away before we lose them. I'm always paranoid that I'm going to lose dies on my desk and throw them away. I have thrown away dies by mistake, and I feel really sad when that happens. I hate when that happens. So try very hard to not have it happen again. Now, how am I going to adhere this die? I do have adhesive that will work for sticking metal to paper, but I don't want to pull it out and try to find it. So I was hoping that a glue dot would work. These glue dots are super old and they're very reluctant to let go of their backing. But I was able to get it off of its backing and it's perfect. It's just a tiny bit smaller than the dime, so it's going to hold it in place perfectly. Now I have this little dime shaped and dime emblem to put on my page, and I thought, you know what? I think I'll put it up there. So that just shows the blue nose on the dime, which is, very iconic. It's very Canadian, very East Coast. And our friends were visiting Atlantic Canada from Germany, and we showed them all around. And it was a really pleasant surprise to see the blue nose docked in the harbor. The 2 days that I think we spent 3 days on the waterfront. And it was amazing. We were actually seated at a restaurant that overlooks the harbor, and the blue nose just sailed by with its sails completely open. It was so beautiful and so perfect. It was so nice that we got to experience that. And then we also did a deck tour as well. And we've got lots of photos from the deck tour as well, although none of them are making their way onto this page. They'll probably show up in my project life. In fact, I think they might have already shown up in my project life, if I'm not mistaken. So let's think about what else we're going to do. So I'm thinking about my title, and one of my tiaras recommended Iconic Schooner as my title, and I had the word iconic in my mind. And I'm just thinking about, at this point, it's pretty monochromatic. It's all shades of blue and greeny blues. And at this point, I have to decide, am I going to keep it monochromatic or am I going to introduce some colors? If I introduce colors, I want to introduce this triad of colors, the ultimate triad of colors, which are primary colors of red, blue, and yellow. And we, of course, have those in the confetti mix that comes with this kit. This kit, turquoise, red, and yellow are my very favorite color scheme of all times. And so if I can make a layout that has this red, blue, and yellow color scheme, I will be very, very happy. The red really picks up on Scott's shirt, and then the yellow picks up on the letters in the word blue nose. So I think that this color scheme is really great because it draws from the contents of the photos, and then blue is in the sky. So we've got all three of this iconic color scheme on this iconic layout about an iconic schooner. So it's all very iconic. So I spelled out the word iconic with these red foam letter stickers from Simple Stories. Warning, these letter stickers are super sticky, and if you stick them to anything, they are very likely to rip when you try to remove them or shift them around at all. So I have been, ever since I learned that about these, I have been putting powder on the backs of them so that I can move them around more easily. So for my touch of yellow, what I thought about potentially using that photograph of, there's another little schooner emblem there, another little blue nose emblem. But what I decided to do instead is to use the sunflowers as my touch of yellow. And I don't know that sunflowers necessarily go with a sailing theme or a boat theme or an ocean theme, but they certainly go with a red, yellow, and blue theme. So that's what I'm doing. I'm spelling out the word schooner on these little tiny puffy letter stickers. These came in the embellishment add-on for the Sweet Summer Kit, and they're very sweet with this red font. I chose them for the embellishment add-on specifically because I thought that the black would work so well with these red letter stickers. I just have a little pokey tool there that I'm using along with my fingernails to just shift those letters around to make them straight. And because it's right on the edge of a photo, it's very easy to make those straight. And I'm just lining up these red letters so that they're basically sitting on the ledge of the photo. So also very easy to make straight. And I just love how it just happens that that big blue splat is showing up in the middle of the C like that. I think that in the middle of the letter C, I think that just looks great. I couldn't have asked for a better placement of a giant splat. So there's my word iconic, and Schooner is already there. And now we just need to add our touches of yellow. I have my sequin mix here. This is the confetti mix from the Sweet Summer kit. The main kit usually has a confetti mix in it. There have been a few months that didn't have a confetti mix, but for the most part they do. So I'll take that sunflower and then this one and this one. So we've got 3 different sizes of sunflowers. And let's fussy cut these. So the first one is fussy cut, and I think I will stick it right in here. That first one had a little bit of dark green as the background, not just white. So I'm just shifting it a little bit so that the dark green part is covered up. And for this one, I thought I could get away with punching a circle, and I totally could have because that looks great like that. But I did decide to fussy cut that one as well. So let's just very quickly fussy cut both of those, and we'll place them in those 2 places right there. So now these little sunflowers make a little triangle on my page, and draw your eye around the page and provide this beautiful pop of color to balance off that pop of color that we have in the red. But let's just add a little bit of yellow up in the top corner here as well. I thought about adding another bit of yellow to layer just underneath of that tile. It would set the tile aside, like kind of give it some definition from the other items on the page, but I ultimately decided not to. Now, because this embellishment has a real dime on it, I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere this to my page because it's going to be heavy. So I'll start by adhering those 2 strips of paper to one another, then I'll glue the dime to those strips of paper, and then I will also use liquid adhesive to glue the paper to the background. I shifted it down just a little tiny bit, and I really like how that looks. I'm going to wait a little bit for it to dry before I flip it over and cut off those little edges. And now while we have the liquid adhesive out, let's also glue these little sunflowers in place. Just like that. Ooh, the pops of color, I just love them. Now let's flip that over, and I would say this page is pretty close to being done, but let's just add some of these confetti pieces. This confetti mix has these adorable little white stars in it, as well as blue, red, and yellow confetti mix, and there's also some green in there too. So my very favorite color scheme, blue, red, and yellow, but the blue being like a turquoise or a sky blue instead of a classic blue. That's my favorite color combination. So let's just take one of each of those colors and put it in 3 different places. Now you'll see that I moved one of those because there was one up here, one down by the title, and then there was one down on the wave paper. But I really like the look of these confetti pieces when they're mixed amongst the splatter of a mixed media background. So I didn't put any here where my finger is pointing, but I do definitely need something red down here. So I often, when I need a little touch of something from a title, I'll go back to that letter sticker sheet and see if there are any symbols I can use. Sometimes you can use a V as an arrow or an asterisk or some little shape and turn it into something else. In this case, there was a little asterisk, so I'll use that. Now on this cut apart that I only used a part of, I'm going to put some typing. So I took out my vintage typewriter, and the paper doesn't fit there, so it's going to be a little bit shaky, but that's okay. This is textured cardstock, so I am going back and forth over the letters. I just type and then press back and then type the same letter and then press back, type the same letter. And that gets it to be a little bit darker. And I'm okay with it being dark and light and dark and light. I think that just adds to the vintage look to this kind of journaling. So I am typing my journaling here into these strips, and then I'm going to separate them. So my journaling says, "We were surprised to see the Blue Nose 2 on the waterfront. and take a deck tour. I guess maybe I should have said and took a deck tour. It's not grammatically correct, but it gets the story across, which is all that really matters. I'm going to use my little trimmer here to trim these down, and I'm trimming them fairly tight so that there's not a whole lot of white around the top and bottom of them. Then once I have them in strips, I will cut them down so that you don't see the little hen. So these little strips are going to go right there. And the first one is going to have that little foam asterisk on it. Cutting them all down so that they're basically just floating on this little piece of paper in the water. I will use my Art Glitter Designer adhesive to just glue these down. And using liquid adhesive just means you have a little bit of wiggle room to shift them around after you place them, just to get them aligned right. But as you can see, I have them misaligned on purpose, so they're a little bit willy-nilly on my page. Ooh, I love that title with that sunflower right beside it. Ooh, that just makes me so happy. Love that color scheme. It's so pretty. So let's just take a closer look at that dime. And that is just about it for this one. So a little bit of a slower close-up so that you can see how this one likes. And you're about to see some photos in a few minutes. But before I share those photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks up on your screen right now, those are tiaras, and they help make this channel happen. So big thanks to all of them. Tiaras get early, ad-free access to all of my process videos, as well as real-time unedited versions of my videos, usually in the form of a weekly live stream and behind the scenes videos of my room and my process. And sometimes they will see little sneak peeks of things to come. So thanks to them for supporting my channel. You can head on over to Patreon and check it out. You can become a free member to see my updates just a little bit sooner than you'd find them on YouTube. And also my memberships over there start as low as $2, and everybody at all the different tiers gets access to the same video content. So it's a pay what you want, pay what you can, and enjoy the content over there is my approach. It's kind of like a tip approach. So thanks so much for watching. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this, and have yourself a really great scrappy week.